Hey guys, going to talk about a few different topics in this video: low volume training, high volume training, some of my philosophies as a lifetime natural bodybuilder. Hopefully that can help you then as you take away that information and apply it to your own training. Just as a reminder before we start though, I have a couple of completely free programs. One is 2 days per week, one is 4 days per week. You can grab those in the description box below. There'll be the links to the protocol, the Google Sheet template, and the video that explains that. So just grab yourself a copy of those if you want to see some really good progress in 2025. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think of this video. We'll get started straight away. In the background, you're going to see some footage taken from an upper body training session that I did last week. For this program, I've completely disregarded the notion that volume has any impact whatsoever on your ability to build muscle. I've completely removed that from my head. There is no doubt that one set is enough to accumulate muscle over time, assuming that I follow the rules that I've laid out for your progressive overload. So the stimulus placed upon that muscle needs to be greater with your progressive overload. It can't be cheated. It can't be paper only. The purpose of you progressively overloading and adding extra weight to that movement is so that you can increase that stress placed upon the muscle over time. If that's not done, then you can end up in a situation where you're lifting more weight but there's no extra muscle. So it has to be disciplined. You have to be true to yourself and make sure it's reasonably consistent in terms of how you perform that movement. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. I recognise as a low volume trainer that there are benefits to high volume training, high frequency training, higher rep training. There's benefits to all types of training. If you look at a lot of the Eastern Bloc training philosophies, especially in the Soviet era, they were doing insane levels of volume, and I've had experience of this doing Smolov. You look at the Smolov routine, you look at the Shiko routine, absurd amounts of volume. But they were really good at driving the base lifts up of their athletes and ultimately pushing them up through the weight classes within a good amount of time. Assuming that you follow the rules and you place that progressive overload in such a manner that increases the stress placed upon the muscle, then would not a program that can get you stronger more quickly be better than something that works more slowly? Of course, but I recognise there are also caveats to that. Long term, it may be better sticking to a lower volume approach, something where you can just chip away slowly. Of course, with higher volumes of training, there's more risk of injury. There's more risk of inflammatory ailments, in and around the joints. There's more risk of burnout. It takes a lot more time, so it's not really that convenient. And of course, your recovery needs go up as well. The more work that you do, the more you might need to do foam rolling or stretching to make sure that you don't pick up those inflammatory ailments, and to make sure that you're in a position where you can train again to a good level. Your need for sleep probably goes up. Your food intake has to go up if you're training with high levels of volume. It's common sense, really. You need to learn how to train, through that kind of fatigue. Your lifts might temporarily go down. You need to be savvy to this, but if you can push through it and come out the other end, then you may see some benefits. And therefore we move towards a lower volumes of training to see those kind of consistent small changes. So there are merits to all types of training, guys, but right now I'm focused on this program, and I have no doubt that it's going to be enough to build me good amounts of muscle over time. And even if it doesn't, I'm still committed to it. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. It might be, but it might not be. It might just be the way that you're nurturing that grass where you are at the moment. Maybe you're not fertilizing it properly. It all comes down to mindset. If your mindset's not right, it doesn't matter what protocol you're going to be doing. Don't rely on scientific literature to tell you how to train. Experiment yourself, then you'll know for sure. And that's what's so frustrating about apps like TikTok. It's just this regurgitation of information people are following blindly, their influencers that they admire. And of course, the influencers are just regurgitating the scientific literature, but they seem to forget that it's cyclic in nature. And not too long ago, it was considered optimal and factual to do 16 plus rep sets, 16 plus sets on a particular muscle group per week, for example. Your minimal kind of effective volume would be maybe 8 to 10 sets or even more. It's just ridiculous how the tables turn and people kind of forget what came before that as well. The hypertrophic rep ranges, 8 to 12 reps. Anything less than that, you're looking to build strength but potentially not increase the muscle mass that you have. Now it's all about kind of low rep sets, fatigue management, reducing fatigue so that you can kind of progressively overload, which is what I've been primarily doing for most of my lifting career, but I do recognise there are benefits and other ways of training. So you have to be open-minded with this. There are lots of different routes to building the physique that you want, and that's the great thing about training. It doesn't need to be boring, but when you set a program, you need to stay disciplined. You need to be closed-minded on that program for that time that you've committed to it, and that's what I'm doing here. One set is all I know, one set is all I need, and we're going to make it work. And then when I've had enough of it, when I've run out of kind of steam on this routine, I plan to do it for a solid year. Then I will maybe think about changing that premise once again, perhaps, or better yet, running with this as your kind of base philosophy in that low volume works. Because again, it's more so for practicality for me, in terms of time management. But then every so often, adding in blocks of maybe higher volume training, higher rep training. Something like that would keep it fresh and allow you to benefit from different styles of training, but stay within reach of your low volume kind of simple progressive overload.